right before I drive away to forget. Why do I give a damn after everything we set up? G'day Chaos Crew, this is the Chaos Chronicles and you are watching the Chaos Chronicles. Alright, so I'm going to do a video today on the time I escaped from the federal police at the airport. Alright, let's go. So before I start, I'll just let you guys know that this is a war story, and I would not suggest that you do any of the things I talk about in my videos, or you are at serious risk of ending up in prison, and we don't want that. Alright, so for a bit of context, I was arrested, long story short, I was arrested in a stolen car that was a rebirth car that I had bought. Whether or not I knew about it is like irrelevant at the moment. But anyway, I was caught in that car and it was right on the border. So this was during COVID time when in Australia COVID was absolutely bonkers. There were states where you couldn't get in and there were states where you couldn't get out. Like, it was absolutely crazy. And so anyway, I was caught in a stolen car. And this is right at the start of COVID, like 2019, I think. And I was caught in a stolen car, which was a rebirth car, and I was bailed on that. So for a little bit more context, so anyway, that they obviously knew where I lived and everything like that, and I was given bail. And so my house was on a certain floor, and then I had family that lived 2 floors up from me. So I was actually at their house, and I could hear my house getting raided again. And I've got police wanting to talk to me. They're leaving messages on my phone and whatnot. And they want to talk to me about 9 more stolen cars that I knew absolutely nothing about. And I was like, yeah, I don't want to deal with this. I'm probably going to see if I can get out of this state. So if you guys know that, like, even when you are on the run, like, it's pretty easy to move from state to state here in Australia. Like, even when you are in trouble with the law, like, unless you've got like serious indictable offences, they're not going to pull you up when you're going, and so for this one, because I was bailed and they only wanted to talk to me. So anyway, myself and my son had got everything together, and we had headed to the airport. And so when we get to the airport, general check-in as normal. We just go and go to that computer thingy at the front and signed. I don't know what it's called, but I signed in to let them know that I was there and that we were getting on the plane. And so there was about an hour before our flights were going, and I thought, well, let's go and get a drink or something before we get stuck in there behind the customs gates. And so keep in mind, I was only flying from one state to another state. I wasn't flying international or anything like that. And so we went and got something to eat and got a drink. And then we went back to the customs area, where you take your handheld luggage with you and you put it through and everything like that. So we were doing all that. Everything was all fine. And then when I got through, like, it's very common for me because of the way I look to get pulled over by that guy who says, oh, I'm just going to wave your shirt, mate. So anyway, he's waved my shirt. But while he's doing that, I'm noticing this congregation of police officers right at the exit bit where you walk out into the actual airport. And so I'm paying attention to that. As soon as we walk away from the dude, I say to my son, like, oh, I wonder if they're for us. And so keep in mind, my son has no idea that I'm about to go on the run here and breach my bail by going interstate, which you're not allowed to do. You can't go interstate when you're on bail. You have to stay in that state, rah. So anyway, we're walking, and as we're walking, we've got the federal police just V-lining straight for us. So I'm walking to go through this exit bit to get into the airport hangar. and these cops are just beelining straight for us. And so anyway, I'm trying to move out of their way, and they're like, no, we want to speak to you. And I was like, oh, here we go. And then they're like, oh, what are you doing here? And then so like I just thought straight away, what am I going to say? What, like, I didn't prepare for this, and so I just said, I'm dropping my son off at the airport here. He's got a flight. He's going interstate. And they're like, so are you getting on that flight? And I'm like, no, I'm not. And they're like, well, how come we just watched you put your bags in and then go through customs with your handheld luggage? How come we have a ticket with your name on it and a ticket with your son's name on it? And so I'm thinking, oh God, what am I going to say here? What am I going to say? And because they obviously knew that I was on bail, I obviously had some kind of red flag at the airport. And I actually had until 4 o'clock this same day that I'm at the airport to get to the police station to sign on for I was put on bail. So you have to go to the closest police station to you, whatever one you want to sign in and whatnot. So I had until 4 o'clock that day. So by rights, I wasn't breaking any laws yet. And so, when they asked me, well, how can you explain that you've got 2 tickets? Just quick off the top of my head, it just came out. I said, I won them online. And I said there was no way I could cancel my ticket. So I just come so I could take my son. He was only 15 at the time. And so they obviously didn't believe my story, and they're like, well, you're going to have to come with us and we're going to see what we can sort out. So they know that I've got until 4 o'clock that day to be at that police station in that state, or I am breaching my bail and I am able to go to jail. And so they said, righto, we're going to have a chat to you over here. We'll get you away from all these people. So they walked me kind of back out into the customs area, like where you would walk out as if you were exiting, but like the exit customs window, if that makes sense. And so they've taken me in that little hallway there, and they're talking to me, and then they're saying, you do realise that you're on bail, you're not allowed to leave the state. I said, I'm like, just kept repeating, I'm not leaving the state. I couldn't cancel the ticket. I won them. And so, like, there's literally about 10 A.F.P, like, federal police there, and they're all talking amongst themselves. What are they going to do? This and that. What do we do here? And so I'm thinking to myself, I've got to get away here. Like, I've heard stories of people escaping police custody at the airport, and I was thinking, I need to do the exact same thing here. And so, like, I'm thinking to myself, what can I do? What can I do? So I asked, am I under arrest? They said, no, you're not under arrest, but you're detained. I'm like, I'm detained? I'm like, that's ridiculous. What are my said charges? They said breach of bail, and started going on with all this bullshit. And so anyway, by this time, I said, well, am I allowed to go for a cigarette then? And they said, yeah, but you'll have to have some officers come with you. And so anyway, we're like in the hallway that leads you straight out to the front door, what gets you out of the airport. So we're so far from that. And so anyway, they send me outside with like 3 or 4 cops to go out there. And so this whole time I'm on my phone to Uber, and I'm ordering an Uber to the airport. And so I timed it perfectly. I can see that this Uber is on its way, and I'm timing it perfectly to get out. And so anyway, I seen that the Uber had arrived, and I said, well, I'm going to go out here for a smoke. You said that was all right. They said, yep, that's fine. And so anyway, I proceeded to pretend to make phone calls. So I'm looking at my phone to see which Uber number plate I need to get in. And just by chance, it was the closest one to me. And so I'm pretending that I'm getting away from them so I can talk on the phone. And like literally, they're about maybe 30 meters away from me at this stage. And so the Uber is literally about 5 meters to my right. And so I'm just slowly moving towards this. And so I'm standing there, and then bang, I just jump into the back of the Uber, and I'm like, righto, mate, go, I've got a deadline. And he's like, all right. And so anyway, I even said to him, went boof, whipped out a $20 note and said, here, if you get me to my destination quicker, here's a tip, And he was wrapped. He was like, yeah, sweet. Could hardly speak English, and probably didn't know what I was saying, but got the gist of what I was saying. I'm looking behind me, and I can see these guys like throwing their hats on the ground. They're jumping up and down. They're looking at each other like, oh my God, what did we just do? And so I literally got in that taxi and got them to drive me to the closest border, in the Uber to the closest border. And so where this airport was, I'm not going to say where it was, but if you know, you know the states. This airport is right on the border, and there was talk of ways that you could get through this border so you could get through the COVID blockages. And so we just head for that, and then I told him that I need to go interstate, and he's like, I can't drive you interstate. It's actually against the law right now. He's like, I can drop you to the closest part here. Told him where I need to go. He said he was going to take me closest to that, and then I proceeded to get across the border on foot, and I literally got away from the A.F.P. And yeah, that didn't last very long. Like, I did get away for a few months. And then I got caught in the new state that I was in, and then bang, we're having my court case, and it was smack bang in the middle of COVID, so all the court cases were via TallyLink, and so bang, next thing you know, the Queensland detectives are up on the screen, and I'm like, what's going on here? And so I'm saying to my lawyer through the TallyLink, what's going on here? And they're like, they're trying to extradite you. And so, yeah, basically I got extradited and had to go back there and face the charges that they wanted to talk to me about, like the 9 more charges, which never come to any fruition. I got charged with that. I done a few months jail and then got released. But that is my story of escaping from the A.F.P. at the airport. Like, it was absolutely intense. The story doesn't do it any justice, but the feeling was like, all in my head the whole time, all I could hear was dun 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 dun, and then, but it was really, really, really intense. And yeah, I got away with it, but was caught in the end. And the old adage is, I fought the law, but the law won. That is the same story ending for every single one of your stories. You can't fight the law and get away with it. I'm telling you now, they will just not let you get away with these things, especially this day and age. Things just don't get swept under the rug like they used to. And yeah, if you don't want to end up in prison, don't do stupid shit. Don't do drugs, don't do crime. It's as simple as that. If you think you're a big shot, you're a drug dealer, you got mad cars, mad girls, mad bikes, everything, fake friends, all this is shit that ain't gonna last, guys. Trust me on that. I put 20 years into hardcore going as hard as I can at crime and have nothing to show for it except for these videos on telling you guys how not to do crime and how not to get into crime. Because trust me, when you're sitting in jail and you're sitting in your cell and you're crying because you can't get out, your family and your kids are crying 10 times more than what you are, believe me. And they are the ones that do the actual real jail time. So think of them next time you're going to go do some crime. Like I say lately, put down the bag and pick up your kids. All right, guys, I've been the Chaos Chronicles, and you guys have been absolutely awesome. And I will catch you on the next vid. Ciao.
I am also the guy who decides if you and your friends walk out of here or not.